Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pen Habit. My name's Matt Armstrong, as it always is, and glad to have you back for another video. Now, in this fountain pen review, I'm going to be reviewing another one of the pens that I will be doing a raffle giveaway for at the end of the season for anyone who has donated to the Pen Habit for Season 2. So if you are a donor for this season, this is one of the pens that you may very well win. And frankly, it's going to be one I'm going to have a hard time parting with. So this is the box it comes in. It is the Faber-Castell Loom. Faber-Castell is a German company, and I've reviewed a couple of their pens in the past, the Ambition in coconut wood and the Basic, I think it's called the Basic, and it's in the black leather design. This is the silver metallic loom. Pull the inner box out of the cardboard sleeve. You've got a nice white cardboard box here with Faber-Castell in silver embossing. The pen slides out like a drawer here, and on the inside you have the pen. Now, I will point out this pen does not come with a converter or a cartridge. It is a cartridge converter pen. It uses Standard International, but it does not come with a converter. So that is an extra expense. I believe I bought this pen from the Goulet Pen Company. I believe the converter is an extra $5. So just be aware of that. That is an extra expense if you don't have a lot of Standard International converters lying around. So the pen this is the all metallic silver version of the pen. It's pretty basic looking. It's got some kind of modern, kind of neat design elements, but it's not flashy by any stretch of the imagination. So this is the all metallic silver version. There are a lot of different versions of this pen in different colors, including some really bright, like lime green. I off the top of my head, I don't know all of the colors, but there's a bunch of them. Got the Faber-Castell logo right here, which is like two knights jousting. Faber-Castell, established 1761. The cap has got kind of this swoopy design here, and it tapers toward the end. Clip is chromed, and it feels hinged, like it's kind of hinged here. Comes up to the flat top, and then there's the Faber-Castell logo again embedded. It's hard to get that right on the video, but get that embedded in or inset in the top of the cap. This pen is interesting because it's hard to tell which parts of the pen are made of plastic and which are made of silver, or of metal rather, not silver. None of the pen is made of silver. So take the cap off. So as far as I can tell, the cap is plastic. That's pretty easy to tell. You can feel it. The barrel of the pen is metal. I believe the section is plastic. It feels plastic. If it's not plastic, it's got a paint coating or something over the metal, but I'm pretty sure that this is plastic. The body of the pen, it's a very cylindrical shape, nothing too flashy. And then the finial on the end here, you can see the finial is just it's little concave finial there. The section it tapers just a little bit. And this is nice because in both the Ambition and the Faber-Castell Basic, which I have reviewed in the past, one of my only real complaints with the pen was the fact that the section was perfectly cylindrical. I like my section to feel a little bit ergonomic. This one does. And I like the little, it's hard to see on the video here, but the raised rings, I like those a lot because that gives you a grip, something to grip onto. It keeps it from getting too slippery. Coming down to the nib, you can see it's a stainless steel nib, or a steel nib. It's a medium. It's got the Faber-Castell jousting logo down there. And I pointed this out before, but one of the things that makes these nibs really interesting is that there's no breather hole. So there is just a nib slit, and then the top of the nib has what I call a golf ball dimple pattern on it. Take the pen apart here. You can see the threads. This is the Faber-Castell converter, pretty standard International converter. It will accept both long and short cartridges. And I've tried a couple different converters in this pen. They have all fit. So overall, it's it's a basic design, but it's really, really well manufactured. So you can see here even though it's plastic on metal, the threads are perfectly smooth. You can't hear hardly anything from them. There's no slack at all in the threads. It feels very nice and solid in the hand. The pen posts pretty deeply and very securely. It's not going to come off at all. And this is actually a pen I like to use posted. It's long enough that I can use it unposted, barely. I don't hold it up here. I can hold it down here, and I can use it just fine. But because the cap is so light, and I'll get to the measurements in a second, this is a pen that it feels better to me posted, a little bit more balanced that way. So speaking of stats, let's go through those. You are looking at, when capped, 129 millimeters. Uncapped, a relatively short 121. It's not super short, not super long, but 121 millimeters. And then capped, it is still a reasonable 151 millimeters. So not too bad there. And because the cap is so light, as I mentioned, it stays very well balanced in the hand. Diameters, right about the middle of the section, you're looking at 11.3 millimeters. The barrel is 11.8. And the widest spot in the cap is 15.7 millimeters. And this pen is a little bit heavier. So because the barrel is made of metal, you're looking at 28 grams for the pen, this inked with a converter in it. And then the cap is an extra 6 grams, so a total of 34 grams. So it is a little bit on the heavier side, but it's not too bad. So that is the overall design of the pen. I like it. I generally tend to like pens that are a little flashier, but in this particular case, this very streamlined look is still very modern and different than what else is out there. And that was something that I liked about the Faber-Castell Ambition as well, that kind of very clean-lined Danish style, Bauhaus style design. You get a little bit of that here, although this feels just a touch more modern to me than mid-century modern, which is what I felt about the Faber-Castell Ambition. And some of the kind of funky design elements that I didn't care for on the Faber-Castell Basic are gone here. So it's a really nice, I think, nice combination of some of their more mid-century modern designs with this really kind of modern, clean design. I like it a lot. What I like more than the way the pen looks, though, is the way the pen writes. And so let me go ahead and do that, and I'll talk you through why I like this pen as much as I do. So here is our writing sample. I'm going to go ahead and post the pen. So the pen is a Faber-Castell Loom. And we have a medium steel nib. The ink for today is Ackermann Beckhacht, and I apologize for the mispronunciation, Hogs, which I believe stands for Snooty Hog. Snooty Hogs or Snooty Hag. It is Ackermann kind of names their inks with a little tongue-in-cheek. Really lovely brown color, and a quick thank you to Tristan, who sent me a sample of Ackermann inks. He sent me 3 samples, and this is the second one I've used. I like this one a lot. This is probably one I will buy a full vial of. And we are on a Rhodia dot pad. Okay, so here is the quote. Little note from my favorite author, one of my favorite authors anyway. Okay, so the Faber-Castell Loom. It's As I mentioned, it's a $40 pen, and actually, I don't know if I did mention it. It's a $40 pen. So this pen is in the same price range as, I would still consider this an entry-level pen. It's on the high end of the entry level. It's more expensive than the $15 Pilot Metropolitan or the $25 Lamy Safari, which get mentioned all the time as really great starter pens. If I had to pick one starter pen that I would recommend to people, it would be the Faber-Castell Loom. This pen has been just a spectacular writer from moment number one for me. What I like about it, besides being built like a tank, it's very heavy, has a lot of heft to it. So people, if you like a really light pen, this may not be the pen for you. I like a little bit of heft. I don't mind a little bit of heft. I like light pens too. The weight of a pen isn't a huge consideration for me. But this feels really solid. This is a pen you could throw in a bag or a purse or your pocket and not have to worry about it getting banged around. But on top of all that, it's just a really great writer. I have not had, ignore that, that was me rolling the pen, not the pen's fault itself. I've not had any problems with skipping or hard starts. The nib is quite smooth. One of the smoothest I have used on a, on a sub $100 pen out of the box. It's just really, really nice. I made no adjustments to it. In fact, I didn't even have to flush the pen out. It wrote perfectly the very first time I inked it up, straight out of the box, which is something I can't say is true for most of the pens that I use. It is not the wettest of pens. It's a pretty moderate wetness. Actually, it's a little on the dry side, but it is so smooth, the dryness doesn't bother me. With this pen, I've actually used it on the paper I use to do my shopping lists, which is not high quality paper. I've taken this pen to work. I've taken this pen to the grocery store with me. This pen, it's a workhorse and it's really solid. Writes every time. I wrote the entire first draft of this review, which is about 5 pages of handwritten text, at lunch earlier today, nonstop. I never once had any ink starvation problems, so I didn't have to prime the feed using the converter. It never ran dry, it never skipped, it never hard started on me. It was just a perfect writer every single time. The nib is pretty rigid. You're not going to get much line variation out of it. There's not much give. And that's fine, because for a workhorse pen, you don't necessarily want a nib with a lot of bounce. It's hard to write with a bouncy flexi pen if you're standing up writing in your hand, that sort of thing. Upside down writing, it works. It's actually quite smooth. Yeah, so there's it writes pretty well. It's very dry, but nice fine line and little feedbacky, just a touch scratchy, but I've certainly felt worse. All in all, I think this is one heck of a pen for $40. It writes better than almost any sub $100 pen I've ever used. That includes the Jinhaos that I've used with both with Goulet nibs and with their own, the Lamy Safari, the Pilot Metropolitan, the TWSBIs. I like this pen a lot. I will say that this is now, I mentioned this earlier, but this is my number one pick for a first fountain pen for someone who's looking to spend somewhere under $50. It's actually, I would consider this a really good first fountain pen for anybody, regardless of what your budget is. This is a great way to get started on fountain pens. At least that's been my experience. I have heard a couple of folks online say that they haven't had as great an experience with their Faber-Castells, but I've not heard a lot about the Loom. I don't feel like this pen gets anywhere near the attention it deserves. So if you're looking for a pen in the sub $50 range that, at least based on my experience, is a great writer, no problems, very consistent, very smooth, a little on the heavy side if that's the kind of thing that bothers you. But other than that, a really, really nice entry into the fountain pen world. Give the Faber-Castell Loom a chance. I don't think you will regret it. So, as I mentioned, this pen will be given away, and I'm going to miss it desperately when it goes. In fact, I'll miss it enough. I'm going to be buying another one of my own. So, if you are interested in being entered into the raffle for this one, don't forget you can just support the Pen Habit over at penhabit.com. There's a Support the Pen Habit link at the top of the page, or that link is also down in the show notes below. Thank you, as always, for watching the Pen Habit, and we will see you here next time. Have a good one.